Let's go with that one.
Okay.
Demonic.
Yeah, I like that one. Yes, sir.
Hey, guys.
Are you waiting for someone to boom shakalaka?
I am now.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Worst Ones Podcast. This is the safe place for preacher's kids to come and be the worst. My name is Rudy Wilson. I am a preacher's kid. We have Terry Weezy in the building. He is a preacher's kid. Jay Rihanna is in the building. She is a preacher's kid. And we have Kellie Lee, who is also a PK, but she is absent with us this episode. How's everybody doing? Terry, let's start with you. What's popping? What's going down in Tennessee?
Not a whole lot. Had some good Indian food last night, but that's about it.
Okay.
Which, surprisingly enough,
or you got it from somewhere?
What's that?
Somebody you know cooked it? You got it from somewhere?
Oh no, I went to a restaurant. But it's pretty surprising that you can get good Indian food in a small Tennessee town.
Gotcha.
But you can, apparently.
Gotcha. Do you eat Indian food often? Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. And it's supposed to be super good for you. Apparently all the cumin and curry and all those spices, good for your organs and whatnot.
Gotcha. Okay. No other updates since we last saw each other?
No, just boring Middle Tennessee life now.
Gotcha.
No, everything's much slower here, so it's really the real Andy Griffith vibes.
Are you enjoying that, or is that?
It's taking some getting used to, because it's like I tell everybody, it's like I was driving 100 miles an hour and then somebody put the emergency brake on.
Mm.
So little bit of whiplash, but
Gotcha. Okay.
It's nice. It's nice parts. I planted some sunflowers that have finally bloomed outside. So.
Gotcha. All right. Miss Honor Roll, what's happening?
Well, I'm the opposite of Terry. I'm exhausted. Okay. Going 100 miles per hour for some time now, and I look like it. If you're looking at YouTube, I look horrible. But life's been really busy. Kind of been doing 3 jobs at work. We'll see what happens on that area. Still haven't quite heard back yet. Gotcha. School is schooling. The garden is still gardening, but it's doing pretty good. My bell peppers and my sweet peppers are really taking off. My tomatoes are way in abundance. I did not know that they produce that many. So I'm just kind of to the point where I'm giving them away.
Gotcha.
And my watermelons are still, the ones I have left are still kicking, but it's been, I don't know about y'all, but it's been like raining here like crazy. So I'm just hoping, they're not getting too much water and split open, but just been busy. Hopefully things will slow down. I will say on behalf of Kellie, she did go to the Beyonce concert in Atlanta last night, and I'm going on Monday night. So that's exciting. It's my first concert, and I'm dressing up.
So that's why she's not here. That's the real reason.
No, I think she had family in town. So
no, I think she had the after party in town. That's what I think.
So that's coming up. I'm excited. I'm gonna dress up like a disco cowgirl. You can see the pictures on my social media. And I did also go to Elder Rick McIntyre's funeral, which was really nice. If y'all
was that New
watching,
Beginning?
Huh?
Is that New Beginning, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it was at New Beginning. If y'all been listening to our podcast for a while, one of our guests, Trey or Richmond McIntyre, his father passed away. So I went to that funeral, and it was really nice. And most people probably don't know, but Trey's father was in my parents' wedding. So we're really deep family ties. But yeah, it was good. That's about it.
Gotcha.
What's going on with you? Huh?
What I was going to ask was, so tomatoes are pretty fertile. You saying like it's a lot of them. So like, is that from just like one set of seeds and they just have produced a bunch, or?
So with the tomatoes and my bell peppers and my sweet peppers, I actually bought them as plants already. It's just like at Lowe's, like, it's just one plant. I didn't grow those from seeds. I grew my watermelons from seeds and a couple other things, but it was just one plant, and it has gone crazy. I've had to buy bigger and bigger stakes because the ones I had and like the tomato cage I had bought, it just wasn't tall enough. I did not know. So next year I'll know. But I also did late in the season buy a patio tomato plant that's supposed to be a dwarf plant. It's only supposed to get 2 feet tall. So I'm kind of doing a little experiment with that plant. So we'll see. It's always an experiment going on over here.
Right.
You're lucky though. Every time I've grown tomatoes, at least a few of them always end up getting stolen. Normally by like squirrels, like to steal them.
So I have built this cage that I put over all of my plants, but they've grown so tall, like I had to take it off. And so I've been using like netting. But even with netting, it's just sometimes it's hard to get it off so you can pick the tomatoes because you don't want to leave them on too long because they will attract birds and squirrels and stuff like that. So it's definitely been a learning experience. I'll probably next year build a bigger contraption thingy. I mean, I just use PVC pipes and chicken wire and like zip ties, but I'll build a bigger one. So I don't know.
Well, as far as the size, most plants, at least in my experience, you can train them with the pots you put them in. The bigger the pot, the bigger they'll get, kind of like goldfish, the bigger the tank.
Goldfish. Well, my one tomato plant's in a material, I don't know, a garden bag. It's my first time trying that. It's a 15-gallon garden bag. But then my other tomato plant is in my raised bed.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's something about I read it once, but I can't remember exactly, but it's something about training their root system. So if it has resistance, they'll kind of go back in on themselves. Yeah. Like I have a small plant that I've had for about 15 years called a desert rose, which if I was to plant it in the ground by next year, it'd be a bush, but this is only like maybe 16 inches tall and it blooms about once a year. But it's only because I've trained it in this one specific pot.
Is it indoor or outdoor?
It could be either, but I leave it outside. Okay. Just because it's,
Oh, and I did speaking of plants, I did go to this free Atlanta plant event where they were giving away 1,000 plants and barely scraped, but I did get me a plant. Standing in line for about 2 hours.
Like I got plant $9.99. It was
pretty much.
Gotcha. That's what's up. As far as with me, same old. It's actually pretty. This has really, I guess, nothing to do with me at this point, but it's actually pretty interesting that you even brought up the Beyonce concert thing that Kelly went to it and you're going to it, because I had just came across a video. So I actually did a fast from like all media. I wasn't like watching no TV, movies. Like I was posting on social media because I have a podcast and I'm gonna mute you, Terry. Yeah, so I got the podcast stuff for the church, stuff like that, but I didn't. And I was promoting a show, but I didn't like check any of the analytics. I didn't check the notifications. I didn't check the comments. So I just posted and ghosted. But one of my first days off of the fast, I came across this video from this podcast I normally listen to, but they had a guest, and she was talking about. Well, let me rephrase. So the whole conversation wasn't about it, but Beyonce did come up. This is somebody who is she was just talking about how, like, I guess in 2015, she came to Christ, all this type of stuff. She's a prophet, yada yada yada. But the main thing that I'm getting to with the Beyonce thing is she was talking about how, like, I guess she had some video that went viral because she was telling people like not to go to Beyonce concerts. You know what I'm saying? Because she was like, and which I've heard before. I've definitely heard by just say the church rumblings, if you will, even throughout my life, that Beyonce's demonic, she's a witch, all these type of things. I mean, people definitely think she's responsible for the lights going out at the Super Bowl the year that she headlined the halftime show, and then the lights went out in the second half. You know what I'm saying? And she did this whole, because even like when she was on stage, she was like, stretch your hands, to me. I want to feel your energy or whatever. This during the performance. And so people were tying her saying that to the lights and all this stuff. So that's why I was saying it's pretty interesting that you even brought it up in the first place, because I know we kind of talked about the Church Girl song from Beyonce, but we never like discussed like her specifically. And not that this whole topic has to be about Beyonce, but in our discussion with the church, does it seem like, which is the title of our topic today, is everything demonic? Because we definitely hear that word demonic a lot. I know, like, even with me growing up, and I think I've kind of spoke about this before, like even like with Christmas, like Halloween, we never celebrated because it was presented to us as demonic. We never trick-or-treated. We never put on costumes, stuff like that. Obviously, like you mentioned before, Janessa, we did go to Hallelujah night and get the candy or whatever. But then even like with Christmas, like we never believed in Santa Claus. Like even for the short amount of time in our life we were getting gifts for Christmas, it was clear that this was from mom and dad. This was never a, St. Nicholas thing, because, Santa with the change the spelling or whatever, Satan, demonic. Decorating a Christmas tree, demonic. So on and so forth. So I've definitely, and I ain't even talking about just in my household, but just in my experience of growing up, I've definitely heard the word demonic or not of God. I've heard those words or phrases be thrown around a lot. So I bring up Beyonce because I am curious, Janessa, to know your thoughts about her, but she doesn't have to be the basis of this conversation. But so let me even just start there, Janessa, before we get to everything else with the demonization of it. What is your thoughts on attending Beyonce's devilish concerts?
So it's interesting you say this, because I kind of have I don't want to say mixed feelings, but I do have some questions, and maybe they'll be answered when I go to the concert. I will say in general, when it comes to music, especially when it comes to rap music, I'm not really good at understanding the metaphors and the wordplay. Sometimes it just goes right over my head. And so there are sometimes, I will say there are some songs and some imagery that has been associated with Beyonce that I've kind of just been like, I don't know what that's about. It could be not of God. I don't know if I would necessarily say demonic. But, and sometimes like even with Church Girl, it's, for me, sometimes it's like, because as we had the conversation before, we don't fully know what she's talking about. We can have our interpretation of what we think she's talking about, but we don't really know. But sometimes when I hear her music and other people's music, I'm just like, did you have to say that? Like, you would have just left out a couple of pieces.
Right.
Then fine, whatever. But because you have some way, somehow kind of blurred the lines, now I'm kind of like, I don't know. So like, I know when she had her Lemonade album, I want to say there was a lyric where she said, I bathed and bleached and plugged my menses with pages from the holy book. And I was just like,
Amen.
now the holy book could be the Bible, it could be the Quran, it could be a library book, you know, it could be a whole plethora of stuff. But if you are talking about the Bible, now that don't sit right with me. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I don't know. Some of her the Black King visuals that was associated with the Lion King live action movie she had done.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't animate it.
Huh?
She didn't animate the movie.
No.
She came out with something called Black is King that was associated with the movie, not the movie itself. Yeah,
it was like a whole music. It was like a video, but it was a movie, and it was released on Disney Plus, I believe. Mm-hmm. But some of the imagery, it was just a little bit like, I don't know, like she was using some skulls in some of it, and eyes were glowing, and that's not necessarily to say that if your eyes are glowing, right, that's just automatically demonic. But like with some of the words of the song, I had some questions. And even with Renaissance, her latest album, because I have seen and read some articles, you know, again, could it be because Beyonce likes horses? She just might like the horses. But of course, I've seen articles where they have pulled Beyonce on various different horses, dressed in red, dressed in white, all black, translucent, which and then it's correlated to the 4 horsemen in the book of Revelations. And you know, like I don't know 100%, like, yeah, that's what she's doing, right? But I can to a certain degree see some of it. And so I do have questions, and I do wonder about it. I've never gone to a Beyonce concert before. This is my first one. So, you know, maybe I'll get something in my spirit, my shanana. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. I don't know. I also think it's interesting we're having this topic because I think in general, I think personally, I'm just kind of more cautious about what I listen to, what I look at, and like the deeper meaning, because I think as a kid or maybe just kind of not being plugged in, it's easy to just be like, oh, it's art. Oh, it's you know, it's just being creative. Oh, it's whatever. But I do think that there is a plan by the devil that is being implemented in the world. He's using different vectors and ways to get that out there, even if it's not blatant, like a red person, a pointy ears and a spear. You know, certain messages in movies and music and speeches and dances, and it's I think maybe because we have more access to stuff with social media, it's kind of more prevalent, or I don't know, I get just a sense of like something's not quite right. And so I'm just kind of being more intentional about certain things, not saying that I know all the answers and I'm getting it right. I could be dead wrong. But I have been asking God just for more discernment on stuff that is not of him. That was a long answer. Hopefully to answer whatever you're
Beyonce is not demonic. She is in the Illuminati. That's what it is. You guys don't know? Come on. Why she's always doing this, you know, like, yeah. It's a secret organization that's quietly running the world from the shadows. Nothing demonic about that.
Right. I definitely am with you on that, Janessa, in reference to the, you know, being cautious about what it is that I intake, which the fast that I was just speaking about really showed me that, especially in hindsight, because even with people who mean well, people who are clearly stating their case, they're not on the demonic tip, or and they're giving you either whether it's sound advice towards entrepreneurship, or whether it's sound advice towards mental health, or whether it's sound advice towards your spiritual health. You know what I'm saying? Or your building the spiritual aspect of yourself. Like even within that, I'm like stepping away from it and then looking back at it. I'm now realizing how human we really are, and how our human, the human, I guess, aspect of us somehow always seeps into what the message that we're trying to display. So even with even going back to when we talked about manifestation, right? Like I really saw how vain it made people appear to talk about, like, yo, I thank God because, and then you start there, you're acknowledging God, but then it's like, but I put in the work, and I made the sacrifice, and I stayed up late, and I, whatever the case may be. And as I'm listening to it, I never really heard it like this before. I'm like, man, what was the point of we even bringing up God? It's almost like in the speech, you win the award. It's like, yo, first and foremost, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. But hey, yo, shout out to my producer, the fans, the fans, I'm nothing without you. It's like, now you definitely ain't had that same energy when you was thanking God. Now you acknowledge him first, but the fans got the real love. The producer got the real love. Your manager, your label, your whatever, BET or the Oscars or whoever's giving you the award, like you shout, but it's like, but then stuff like that. And I don't think that they were insincere in really wanting to thank God. I don't think they were just thanking God just for the sake of doing it. But at the same time, somehow we as humans, we put the credit back on us. You know what I'm saying? And I'm bringing this up because I'm saying, yeah, we got the demonic side, but even on people who are meaning well, we're still coming off as very human. You know what I'm saying? In our approach, as opposed to keeping that same energy of acknowledging God, and everything. Like, God, you deserve all the glory. That's one statement, but giving God all the glory is a totally different thing. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody saying, man, your album changed my life. Man, you know what I'm saying? That movie you did changed my life. Like, you're such an inspiration. Your natural reaction is going to just be like, thank you. You know what I'm saying? At the very least, if not, oh, I'm glad I could help, or whatever the case may be, as opposed to when we're saying, quote unquote, all the glory belongs to God, we abort that whole mindset quickly once the compliments, start flying. So it's like, are they being demonic per se? Maybe not, but I do know that us as humans, like we all kind of can have our own agenda that maybe doesn't require sticking, Psalms 23 up the cooch. You know what I'm saying? But there's still some level of just say going against the God grain, even when you mean well.
Well, I've heard that overly humble line before. All the glory goes. Well, when do you get to take credit for the work you do? When do you get to have some of the credit? You know what I mean? Like,
when
imagine
all the work, but we don't. We literally cannot breathe.
Well, hang on. Let me give you the example
without
first.
God.
Okay, let me give you the example first. Imagine if you work really hard to make your high school football team. Then you go from your high school football team, you work really, really hard, and you get a scholarship, and you become a star athlete in college. Then you work really, really hard, and you get lucky, and you get drafted, and now you're an NFL star. And every time you succeeded, your father walked up behind you and went, "It's me. I did it all. He wouldn't even be alive if it wasn't for me. I did it." You know what I mean? How would you feel about your dad? If every news interview you did, you had to jump in there, and he had to jump in there and be like, "I gave him life. He wouldn't be here without me. He owes me everything."
So I'll answer that question like this, and Janessa, you can answer. If to answer your question directly, if my dad did do that, yeah, I'd be pretty pissed. But that ain't got nothing to do with God, because like my dad,
he's our father.
But listen to me. But my dad provided life for me in the sense of, you know, he shot my mom's club up, and then here I am. You know what I'm saying? but he didn't. But he's not responsible for. He's not responsible for my athletic ability or my, you know, or even me going out there and not, you know, getting injured enough to end my career or whatever the case may be. Like, that's where God steps in, because even my dad wouldn't even be here to brag if it wasn't for God. You know what I'm saying? Creating him, or the lineage before him. So when it comes down to God, it's much more deep rooted, because literally our entire being, whether it come down to looks, ability, the way you think, maturity, whatever the case may be, it all stems from the root, which is the creator, which is God, and which none of our parents, even being our, you know, parent or whatever, they can't take that level of deep rooted credit for what it is that we were, you know, able to do. So that's my answer in short. But go ahead, Janessa.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And to add on to it, there would be no football without God. The whole concept, the idea of football would not even exist without him. The idea or concept of wanting to even play football, that doesn't just come from your parents. God had a plan for you before you. He says he knew you when you was in your mother's womb. He knew you before you were even created, formed. So like, this isn't anything to do with humans, like nothing. This is everything about God. Every time you breathe in and exhale, we need to be saying thank you, God, because we could not do that without him. And that's what, you know, in one of the scriptures it says, you know, if I had 10,000 tongues, it wouldn't be enough, because we literally cannot ever thank and praise God enough, because everything we do is because of him. The fact that you can move your hand, nobody can do that but God. If you have surgery, a doctor can sew you up, but the actual healing, that's nothing but God. Like, it's just so much bigger than that. He deserves it. He truly deserves it, because without him, you are nothing. I am nothing. We are like, nobody is anything without him. We exist because of him. And so nobody can take any credit for what he has done but him.
Yeah.
Then what are you doing going to Beyonce concerts? Why don't you take that money, get it to your church, quit your job, stay home, pray every morning, every night, every evening? You know, what are you doing living this life?
Because we are human and we're not perfect, and God has acknowledged that. The Bible says that no one is perfect. We have all fallen short.
And as far as that, and as far as that providence thing, we've discussed this before. We should
try, and I feel like I do try. But am I perfect? Absolutely not. And I just sat here 10 minutes ago saying, you know, I'm asking for discernment, I'm asking for guidance and wisdom, but by no means am I, you know, saying I'm doing everything right. I literally just said that. I said I could literally be doing wrong. So, but it's not that I'm not going to try. And I even said myself, I'm going to go to this concert. I've never gone. I want to see if some of my questions can be answered. But I'm also
find out if she's demonic.
I'm also not the type of person who's like, and I can't wait to her next concert. For me, I was just like, I'll go to one. And if I feel like, yeah, that's not it, that's it. That's it.
Well, and as far as that providence stuff you were talking about, we've discussed that before. That's really great when you say God knew you were going to be a football star. That's great, and that sounds really good and looks really good in a in a thank you note. But what about the guy who's dying tonight of an overdose, or the homeless man who's crazy?
Yeah,
Did
God knew that
know
too.
They were going to be that.
Absolutely.
He's like, you're going to be the crazy homeless guy that throws the species at cars. You know,
he definitely knew it. Absolutely.
Well, that's pretty bad for that guy. That's a pretty terrible way to go through life.
Yeah, but see, once again, if you think about how God looks at life, like God, even especially according to the Bible, it speaks so much more about the reward once you leave this earth, that it's low key. I be feeling like God don't really give much of a shit about this life here. You know what I'm saying? Like, me personally, I'm not saying this is scripture. I'm just saying my opinion, because even the more and more I read, like it's even kind of to what you be speaking about, Terry, about like these different preachers or pastors or whatever, not spending so much money just say on a Maserati, but helping the poor, whatever the case may be, because it, even just the fact that, you know, that Christ acknowledges, you know, the poor or the sick or the whatever like that. Like, I truly believe God knows about the homeless man and the sick, whatever like that, because he could have easily created a world where these things didn't exist, or you didn't get sick, or you didn't be homeless, or you didn't, like, everybody was good. We all even, we all middle, you know, got the same amount of money.
He did create that world, and then some lady bit an apple. So. Yeah, but he also created her, and he created the tree for her, and Adam and Eve to not eat from. He could have not created that tree, but he did. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like, does God know about the good and the bad before it happens? I can't really see how he can't know. You know what I'm saying? Because you could have, I mean, you meaning God, you could have easily created a world where this design wasn't the design, but you set it up this particular way. So what your exact reasons for it are, I don't know, but I would have to imagine that the person who just say has the bad life here on earth, quote unquote, I truly believe God's focus is more about their life in the, just say, in the kingdom, more than it is here on earth. But that would mean, again, and we've already talked about this with the providence thing, is if your life is already set, you have no free will, and that's not allowed. And like you said, he could have not put the tree there. He did put the tree there so that they could have free will and they could make their choices. He might know what's coming, but he ain't planning it either.
Well, yeah, I mean that could be, we could have this discussion already.
I was gonna say,
y'all already know,
right? This is demonic.
Right, y'all know how I feel about the whole free will.
Let's get back to Satan Claus.
But right. But even going back to, like, you know, the music industry or whatever like that. I mean, I know it was a big thing with Kirk Franklin fairly recently, within the last year or two, when he did like a freestyle, or maybe it wasn't a freestyle, it was just a rap, but I think it was on like the BET Hip Hop Awards or something like that. But he said, like, he had some line that said, even the lion and the lamb will bow down to the goat. Right now, when he did it, like he pointed down, he was like, the lion and the lamb will bow down to the goat. And then I guess when he did it, he did some movement like you can't really see me, but it's something like this that I guess that's like a demonic posture for some demon that did this type of posture or whatever. And then even like the bar is a little bit kind of questionable, because it's like you feel like he's calling God the goat, but then it's, you know, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe he's calling Jesus the lamb. I guess I don't know. Maybe he's saying even Jesus got to bow down to God. But then, you know, but then the goat also has negative connotation when it comes down to demonic stuff. You know what I'm saying? So like, people were definitely going back and forth about that. Like, it was a real big, you know, whatever. And especially even because of the posture, I guess, that he made, you know, when he did it or whatever. But I guess for me, it's kind of like, it kind of puts you on a thin line, because it's like, am I not doing enough due diligence to like see what these people are saying, or are they reaching? You know what I'm saying? Like, are they doing, you know, too much? Like, or maybe I'm just missing it. Maybe, you know, the wool is over my eyes and I can't really see it, because I look at Kirk Franklin as, you know, speaking of the GOAT, I mean, to me, he's low key the GOAT of gospel music. You know what I'm saying? This man got hits. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't sing any of them. You know what I'm saying? This man didn't have to sing a lyric, and he is a beast that when it come down to creating gospel songs from back in the day all the way even till now. Like, he still can you know, produce a banger. So and so it kind of makes me think, like, well, you know, is all of these songs that he made, like, do I need to listen to all of them? Did they all have some type of evil undertone? Was silver and gold really, you know what I'm saying, something different? Was you know, our God is an awesome God. He reigns. Like, is he, you know what I'm saying? Like, do I need to go back and listen to every lyric? Or like I said, are these people, you know, kind of reaching? And I guess for me, I don't know if this is the proper approach to take, but I honestly don't be caring. what just say the enemy got going on. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, I mean, God, you in control of all this anyways. You feel what I'm saying? So like, even if there is a underlining agenda and all this other type of stuff, like if the undertone agenda is hidden from us as humans and hidden from God, then I need to stop serving God. You know what I'm saying? Because you too out of the loop to be in control of all of this, and the devil or the enemy or whatever is still able to, you know, get one over on you. You feel what I'm saying? As opposed to, oh no, God is aware of all this and he's in control of all this, and I don't have to worry about the enemy's agenda because it ain't gonna affect me. You feel what I'm saying? So that's how I ultimately look at it for myself. But I do understand to a degree why people are looking at these different things, because maybe you got children out there that you don't want to, you know, I guess to be affected by it or whatever the case may be. But I do struggle with that. Like, am I just not caring enough? Because I can be that person. I just don't really care. Or are these people just looking too deep at it and just trying to find stuff?
Hey y'all, sorry to interrupt, but we have a few church announcements. Follow us on Instagram at TheWorstOnesPK. New content coming soon. We also have a TikTok at TheWorstOnesPK. No content yet, but continue to check us out. If you want to, when you listen to our podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. So make sure you type in The Worst Ones Podcast and you'll find us. And when you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you to our 500,422 followers. We love you so much. Now, back to the show.
It's interesting you brought that up because I've noticed this, I guess, in the past maybe 5 years or so. But it just seems like the world has gotten real sensitive. I don't know if you've noticed, like even just the past week, how many celebrities have made a statement and then they issue an apologies because it has offended somebody.
Shout out Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx, I think Neo. I'm trying to think who else I had seen do an apology this week. And it's just like almost to the extent you can't say anything because it's going to offend somebody, or it's just unacceptable anymore. Like the world has just come to this place where they're so accepting of almost, it seems like, everything. Like if you want to be called a cat or identify as a cat, you know, we need to, it is the proper form to identify you as a cat and not a she, he cat. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just so much weight on everything. And I think one way it could be negative to the Christian community is if you're not able to say, no, I don't believe in this, or no, I don't agree with this, you got to issue an apology or whatever. Well, now an alternative message that you might not agree with is just free to roam rampant.
Right.
And you know, if you have an young impressionable mind, maybe somebody didn't grow up in church and hasn't been to 5 services in one day, every day from the age of 2 to 18, you know,
right.
They might agree with it or think that's right or whatever. And so it just, at least from a Christian perspective, it seems dangerous that the devil, Satan, is gaining a new audience. And then once he starts gaining more people and they have kids, more people, and it's less and less people on Team Jesus or Team Christ. And it may seem like the devil's winning to a certain extent. Like that was a real ramble, but I hope y'all got it.
Well, so such reminders.
So I'll give you an example, and this one kind of threw me for a loop. For real. I was like, do I need to turn this off right now? I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It came out on Disney Plus, I think, first week in August. And so I'm watching it. And the bad guy, like at the height of the movie, he says, "There is no God. I am God." And when I say I was cooking and I turned around and a fast quickened her, I said, it's blasphemy. And I said, I was like, Lord, not in my house. Like, I ain't say that. I don't believe that. Like, no. And in the movie, like, everybody stopped and like the people who were on his side, like, tried to revolt against him because they felt like he had taken it too far. But I was sitting here like, this is a Marvel Disney movie. How many kids, families have been watching Marvel? What is it? Avengers, all of these movies for years. And it was just real sly that the main character literally yells, there is no God. I am God.
No, he doesn't. I've watched that movie a couple of times. What he says is, if God existed, I wouldn't have had to step in.
And then he says, there is no God. I'm not making this up. I will pull it up because it set so deeply in me because I was just like, I can't believe they put it in there. Now I understand everybody's not a Christian.
Well, he is the bad guy
doesn't believe in God. But I was just like, that was just blatant as a Christian. I was like, that was real bold to put that in there. And so I did some research about it because I was just like, I can't be the only one who feels like this. And one of the things I did come across, and I can see both perspectives, I still don't agree with it, was that in the Marvel, not even just Marvel, but like comics in general, there are roles of different gods per se, you know, kind of like you got Zeus and Hades and Poseidon, like in that world, there are these different gods, but I'm not viewing it that way. You know, when I heard it, I was just like, because there's just certain things I'm not going to play with God. And that one just kind of stuck out to me, that just based off of how I was raised and what I believe, I was like, I don't even want to associate.
But did you feel that way about the Avengers?
In terms of what?
Well, like Thor is a god, and he's.
I didn't know Thor was a god.
He's the Norse god of thunder.
I ain't know about all that. I don't know. I mean, I've seen it, but I don't know. And that's to your point, Rudy. Like, do I need to be doing some more due diligence? Because, you know, it's easy to just be like, oh, it's Disney. Oh, it's a cartoon. It's a movie. And not think anything else about it. But in reality, there are these underlying messages. And because we don't think about it, you know, it just kind of sits there or seeps in, or it has the opportunity to fester over time. But like I said, at this age where I am more conscious about it, when I hear something and it really vexes me, I like take the time to do a little research. Like, okay, well, I don't know. And again, I don't know if what it is right or wrong all the time, but at least I feel like I'm doing more than just being ignorant to it and not just going with the flow and trying to do a little bit more research, even if it's asking God, like, just, can you give me some discernment on this? If this is not what I need to be doing, please just turn the TV off, like, if the power go out, do something. Because so I don't know. I don't know if everything is intentionally demonic, but I definitely think there are some avenues where even if you're trying to be unintentional, even if you're not trying to do it, it can open a door. Like you said, even with Kurt Franklin, I don't think Kurt Franklin is trying to be demonic. I didn't even know about the symbol thingy. You know what I'm saying? But somebody else who's, I guess, well versed in it, they could have, you know, I don't know. The people who maybe they're witches or people who worship that, and they saw it and they was like, oh, the symbol, you know, like, I don't know. Kind of like when the man threw the hat up, that was a calling card, that was a bat signal. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
But that begs the question: is like, what? Are you really afraid of this character saying this thing because you're afraid of what it might do to you or do to the world, or is it just that you didn't like it, you know, and it kind of pissed you off? Because I got to tell you, I've heard this argument before, with like Harry Potter was a great one back when those movies and books started coming out. That was a huge debate. And I said the same thing I'll say now, which is if your faith is so fragile that just hearing or seeing something that could be viewed as opposition to it shakes it, then maybe the problem isn't them. Maybe the problem starts in here where your faith lives,
So for me, specifically with Guardians of the Galaxy, Mark 3:28-30 says, "Truly I tell you, people will be forgiven for their sins and whatever blasphemies they utter. But whoever blasphemies against the Holy Spirit can never have forgiveness, but is guilty of an eternal sin. For they have said, he has an unclean spirit." And my concern with that is literally blasphemy. I don't want kids to be going around thinking they quoting Guardians of the Galaxy, but they are literally doing something you should not be doing in the Bible. And that's why it's dangerous. Y'all thinking it's just a line, it's just a whatever, but it could really be affecting your soul, and you don't even know it. And everything's not as cut like this scripture with that, but it's all, at the end of the day, the Bible also says all sin is sin. There's not one greater or bigger. So whether you're lying, you're stealing, you're killing, they're all considered sin. So even if you're like, well, it doesn't mean that much, the meaning doesn't mean this much, it's still an avenue for sin to enter and fester and grow. And then sometimes I feel like now, with the way the world has normalized a lot of stuff, people don't even see certain things as sin anymore. They don't see nothing wrong with it anymore. In fact, they embracing stuff. And so that's problematic too, because if you don't see anything wrong with your behavior, why would you turn away from it? Why would you want to live a life that's pleasing for God if what you think is not wrong? Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I will say I feel like I have a lot more conviction at this point in my life. If I do something I know I'm not supposed to do, I feel bad about it. And that's why I was like, if going to this concert, if God's like, yeah, that's not what I want you to do, I'm going to repent and I'm not going to no more Beyonce concert.
You gotta, first of all, we can all hear your conviction. The conviction is definitely on display today. But I think it's important to keep, at least some kind of balance, or else you end up like my uncle with the sign in the yard every Christmas that says Satan Claus isn't welcome here. Because then it's almost like you're a heretic at that point. You're pushing people away because when people drive by, they see that and they go, I don't want to be that guy. Maybe I'm skipping church this Sunday because I don't want to get to that point. You know what I mean? But
what if the sign said Jesus is the reason for the season?
I think that's fine because, again, it's not pointing a finger at somebody else and being judgmental or being negative. Nobody wants negativity around the holidays, and at that point, while we're here, is Santa Claus demonic? Because technically he is a false idol. He does draw worship away from Christ around Christmas. So is he demonic? Should we have the Satan Claus sign up? I don't know.
As far as the Satan Claus sign, I think that's up to, that's person's discretion. But in reference to, I mentioned it at the top of this podcast, like I definitely, the Santa Claus thing was never a thing for me, like, or growing up in my household. Like my mom, even when we were getting gifts as kids, we knew who it was from. Like I said, and we didn't have any Christmas tree. Like it either was the gifts were either sitting on the middle of the floor, or maybe we did a scavenger hunt or something like that. But then even the gifts stopped, even at an earlier age, because my mom was so big on us not getting caught up on any distraction. It ain't got to be Santa Claus. It could be just the gifts itself, the whatever, like that's going to take away from us understanding that that we in this household acknowledge Christmas, even if it's not the accurate date, as the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. You feel what I'm saying? So I personally have not done enough research and all that to be trying to just say use the word demonic and put that label on something. But if something does kind of go against where I stand, I do think that it is important to stand firm on that stance. Like, even to your point, you were saying, like, does people want negativity around the holidays? Well, that's the reason why pretty much everybody in Whoville hated the Grinch, because they felt like he was this angry person around Christmas. But if you actually listen to the Grinch's reason for hating Christmas, it had nothing to do with him just being angry and just Christmas is whatever. Like, he felt like it was very materialistic. Everybody just only care about these toys, blah blah. Like, it ain't no, So if I just steal all the toys and stuff like that and throw them over the edge, then I can take Christmas away. And then when he stole all the toys and the Who's came out and they were still, cheerful and loving and spending time with family, whatever like that, the Grinch himself and the Who's, everybody realized that it's not about this thing that we thought it was. You feel what I'm saying? So the Grinch gets such a negative connotation, but he even himself was hating the carnal way of looking at, Christmas. And this is a fake story. It's a make-believe story that he came up with.
Rudy's trying to make the point of, the Grinch ain't so bad. He just wanted everybody to get back to church.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he gave a shit about church, but I'm saying, but in the sense of like just the actual meaning of Christmas, because I definitely get the Grinch label. Y'all know I'm definitely the Grinch of this podcast, and I'm not here to discourage y'all from getting gifts, but I'm going even to the whole Santa Claus thing. Like, to me, I'm not quick to use the word demonic in any form or fashion, but even once again, going back to the point I made earlier, even people who have podcasts and different things who mean well, sometimes they don't even realize that what they're saying or how they're saying it is a very carnal way of looking at it, as opposed to spiritual. Even going back to acknowledging God, in all your ways, or giving God all the credit. Like, we as humans find a way. We're very vain, very, very vain. You know what I'm saying? Like, and of course, this era of life with social media and all that type of stuff does not help by any means. You know what I'm saying? But because we're so vain and because things are so minute, things can gradually build and become a problem. I heard one of my homeboys use this example for something totally different, but he was like, if you ate one Dorito today, it ain't going to kill you. But if you kept eating Doritos every single day, like, eventually it's going to affect your health. You feel what I'm saying? And so, to Janessa's point about them making that God comment, where I stand in my just a relationship with God or whatever, I can definitely hear that statement in a movie and it not affect me to make me think that, oh, this person is God and God doesn't exist. But there may be millions and billions of kids who see this, and that plants, a subliminal seed inside them that affects them. The person who wrote that line, they may not have even been trying to be demonic, or trying to whatever. It just may have been a line in a movie. But also, if your mind is a certain place, coming from somebody who writes scripts, like I've recently been changing things in scripts I've already written, because I'm like, though this is entertaining, I don't know if God feels okay about me, putting this out like this. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and it's because, like, I'm trying to renew my mind. Not that by any means I don't do anything ungodly, because I do. Let's be clear, okay? But the things that I feel like I can kind of grasp a control over and gradually grow towards, like, I do want to go ahead and do that, because like I said, even people who mean well, I've had to kind of pull back from listening to, because their mindset is different than where God has me. I even got out of a entrepreneurship class that I was paying to be in, because entrepreneurship is about making money. You know what I'm saying? Just let's be clear. And where God has me right now is I'm in way more of a ministry mode and helping my dad with the church and stuff like that than I am about making money. And I don't want to blur the lines. You feel what I'm saying? In what it is, my approach. I'm not saying entrepreneurs are demonic by any means. You know what I'm saying? But where I'm at right now and where an entrepreneur has to be, those lines can get blurred. And I don't want to make everything I do about money and forget the main reason why I'm doing it. And I'm talking about me. I ain't talking about anybody else. I'm talking about where God specifically has me. So I do think that it is important to know where you're at and even what you need to try to just say, even protect yourself from, because even the smallest little things can seep in and eventually have an effect. And I'm going to close my long sermon by even saying this. I don't know if y'all seen the movie that came out recently on Netflix called They Clone Tyrone. It got Jamie Foxx in it.
But I want to.
Gotcha. So I won't give any, it's gonna be, well, let me just leave it out.
No spoilers.
I'm about to say it'll be hard to use this example without a spoiler. So let me just leave that example out. But
okay.
But nonetheless, I do think that it things can seep in over time. And if once again, if that same line hit me right now where I am right now, that Guardians of the Galaxy line, it wouldn't affect me, but 10, 20 years ago, it might have because I was younger and a little bit more oblivious.
Maybe if the hero was claiming such things, but when it's the villain, and people always say, well, what about the kids? No, that's an excuse for arguments. It's always about the kids. You know what I mean? They used to make the same arguments back in the 90s to keep gay people out of our neighborhood. What about the kids? You're turning your kids gay. So, but it's, first of all, it's the villain saying it. Second of all, the villain gets defeated by a raccoon by the end of the movie. So, spoiler alert, sorry. I
wasn't planning on watching that demonic movie.
So he's obviously not God, and I don't think any reasonable person or child would even think like, oh yeah, there is no God. That's God. The guy with the stretchy face,
But you don't know.
Right. That was like that might be your experience.
Okay, let's put it this way. Any child who is dull enough to hear that and go, oh yeah, he's right. He's God. Not, there is no God. That's God right there. I don't think has the cognitive capacity to be judged after this life. So there you go.
But I may can watch that and not necessarily think that character is God, but I may take on the same mindset that character has. Like, shoot, I'm a badass.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, no, I get that.
Like that character is right. Like, shoot, ain't no God. I'm God. Like, come through me. You know what I'm saying? And ultimately, if we go back to the whole, free will thing for a second, like ultimately, once again, God is aware of all these things. So it's not like it's catching them off guard. But even going back to the demonic side of things, once again, the person who wrote that line, the person who was acting that character, who said the line, they all could be lovers or followers of Christ for all we know. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that line was written with intent to get kids to, whatever. But once again, when I initially wrote certain lines in my scripts, now that I'm going back looking at them, I'm like, and this ain't got nothing to do with blasphemy or nothing like that. But it's like, once this is entertaining, this is even acceptable. Nobody would look at this in a movie and think this is crazy. But with my assignment and the way that God is pushing me forward to use me to make content, it's like I don't want to I don't want to be a part of the agenda of putting out certain things when even though it's just entertainment. So even like with now, like I still use profanity, but I'm very much more cautious about not using profanity in a negative aspect. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't trying to call somebody out their name. I'm not trying to use it just for the sake of using it, because I'm realizing that it's your words itself. And we talked about this on here. It's your words itself, that have the meaning behind it. Even if I don't ever use a cuss word, I can still curse somebody, or I can still hurt somebody, or damage somebody, or make them not go to church no more, or make them not love God no more, without ever using the curse word. But my words were just say low-key demonic, you know what I'm saying, without ever using profanity. So even in my profanity or non-profanity, I'm just trying to clean up my way of thinking, my way of whatever, and even what I listen to, what I watch, and all this stuff, because I'm realizing that even the smallest little thing, you know what I'm saying, can make you, like, having sex before marriage may not necessarily be considered demonic per se, but it is sin, you know what I'm saying? And you can listen to a podcast that, you know, people talking about the best sex they done had or whatever, and they ain't married, you know what I'm saying? But they like, yo, because this man loved me so much, and now, you know, we having sex, and now you're just thinking about, I need to find a man or a woman or whatever like that loves me like that, but you're not even realizing that you're leaning right into the fornication side of things, you know what I'm saying? Like, and once again, I don't know if these people are necessarily being demonic in their approach, but it's still not in alignment with God. And yes, you're going to miss the mark. You're not going to get it every time. You know what I'm saying? You may have been having sex before you heard that podcast, whatever. But nonetheless, all of those small little things does play a role. It's the one Dorito at a time that it didn't affect me now, but I keep eating bags of Doritos. Eventually, I'm going to.
Well, there's aliens now. In case you didn't hear that story, the U.S. government has pretty much come out and said, yes, we found non-human what do they call it? Non-human. They found aliens
Life
in a crash.
Right,
yes,
right.
Yeah. Does that mean you shouldn't watch the news? Because that might, when you hear that might shake your faith. So you just don't. You stay away from that. Like, at what point are you putting your head in the sand?
I get you. I think it's kind of trial and error. Even like with Janessa going to this Beyonce concert, like she's never been, but she's going with the mindset of saying like, I'm going to go enjoy myself, but I'm also going to see. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's something about this that I should not participate in no more. And for me, I just had this discussion on my other podcast about like, should we watch the news and all this other type of stuff. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of watching the news, and it has nothing to do with necessarily even the alien stories or whatever, but I don't really like hearing about the crime and this person died and this person did, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just not big on that stuff, because me, that disturbs my peace. I like being happy. You feel what I'm saying? And if it's something that I need to know, sure. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of stories that people talk about, I hear through word of mouth and never even see it on the news, because I don't want to see the video of that person getting gunned down, or I don't want to see the video, because I don't. And once again, are these things demonic? Maybe not. But just protect.
They're just a bummer,
right? But and even just protecting myself. Like, I know how seeing those type of videos and stuff made me feel before. I know how growing up, how the news made me feel. Every time the news came on, like, I mean, and this was before anxiety and all that stuff was even like a popular word to use. But now that I'm thinking about it in hindsight, I remember the anxiety feeling that I would get every time I would hear the news, the little jingle coming on or whatever. And it's like, okay, this is the hour of TV where everything is bad, everything is wrong, you know what I'm saying? It's disastrous. And so I personally don't really watch the news. I try to just stay informed as need be. Is the news demonic? Probably not. Maybe
you would have loved the news in the 80s. You know, serious. I'm not even kidding. They always had like on the lighter side of the news, you know,
right.
like,
Right.
They had a cat, fashion show down at the mall. But no, it used to be like a good mixture of stories around just things to know, and then there'd be like a story about a robbery or something like that. But for the most part, it was pretty well mixed up. Right. But you're right, it's evolved since then. Everything's bad now.
It has. I actually had to unfollow a couple of pages devoted to like Atlanta happenings, because every time it was like shooting here, car stolen here, fight here, car accident here. And for me, it got to a point where I didn't want to go out. I was like, literally everything, like, you can't go anywhere. These are in places that I've gone to. Was driving down the street the other day right there where this happened. It got to a point where I was like, I'm just going to stay in the house. It got to a point where actually, like, last month, I needed to go to an event and I Ubered, because I was so fearful that my car was going to get stolen. Because the whole Hyundai Kia boys are stealing cars. And so I had to take a step back, and I was like, if I keep watching this, I'm going to like live in fear everywhere. And who wants to do that?
Be anxious for nothing, Janessa.
Be anxious for nothing. Live in fear. So yeah, I don't really watch the news like that either. It's on a need to know basis. And then, me just in general, if something does come across my radar, I'm gonna do my own research because I don't trust everything that's been saying. And we've talked about this, especially with the world of AI. You can put out anything and people will literally take it and run with it. And unfortunately, today's generation, not even just today's generation, just people in general, are good with just someone saying something and they're taking that as law, as facts, as it is. Like, and that's scary as well. You can say anything and people be like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's real. Okay. Janessa, did you have any jewels?
I did.
All right. Let's give it up for Janessa's jewels.
Yeah. Dang it, Rudy. Not like this whole.
You look fine. Come on. Go.
So today's jewel is called Just Today. So I've been stressed out for the past couple of weeks, and most of y'all know I'm a planner. I like to know what's happening, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. And it just seems like a lot of things have not been going to plan recently. And it's been driving me insane. And so growing up in church, I'm sure y'all have heard this. I've heard this. And of course, from my parents, that if everything went well with no problems, we wouldn't need God. And that's not how God designed it. Dang, I had my little scriptures pulled up. But I think it's Proverbs. I don't know. I have to find it. But I think it's somewhere in Proverbs where it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding, and always acknowledge him. And he will direct your paths. And I had to take a step back because here I am, Janessa, trying to make stuff happen. And that's not what the Bible says. It says acknowledge him and he, not Janessa. God will direct your path. And so one thing I've been really meditating on these past couple of weeks, I've been looking at two scriptures. One is Matthew 6:34, and it says, so don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's troubles is enough for today. And I've also been looking at Luke 12:25 through 26. And it says, and which of you by worrying can add 1 hour to his lifespan? So if you are not even able to do a very little thing such as that, why are you worried about the rest? And so I have really been trying to just focus on today. That's why it's called Just Today. When I start thinking about other stuff, what I got to do on Tuesday. I got to do on Friday. So I need to do this amount. Like, that's how I typically am. I'm going to do the first part on Tuesday, the next part on Wednesday. I'm going to have it done by Friday. I can proofread it on Saturday. And I'm really trying to just, what are we doing today? Today is Saturday. What's the plan for the day?
Right.
Because if I try to plan and worry and then things don't work out, and then I'm trying to figure out plan B, that's not helping or doing anything to me. That's not adding to my life. That's just making my life more miserable.
Right.
So I encourage all of our listeners today to just focus on today. And that's it.
Hey, man. All right. The jewels are always on point, Janessa. Jewels are always on point.
Man, they be life lessons for me. My life to you. Hopefully next week I have the testimony, but we'll see.
Gotcha. All right. Well, shout out to Princess Kells. You can follow her, Kellie Leasy, at Princess Kells 51. She is private and does not really accept requests. So follow her, if you want to at least be in the waiting room. All right. J Rihanna.
You can find me at @JRihanna_. I think these people are gonna start thinking that's my real name. Because even in our group chat, I was like, Rudy, my name is Janessa. But yes, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram. I think those are only, and Twitter at @JRihanna_.
Hey.
Do you actually use Twitter?
Not really.
I don't know anybody
I
who
had
uses
it
Twitter.
back in college.
Yeah.
But since college,
I just love how every news every news outlet acts like Twitter's, some big deal, and I'm like, nobody uses Twitter.
I mean, I really am not on any social media, probably except for Instagram. For real.
I'm on social media at Terry Wayne Comedy on all social media platforms, or you can just go straight to Amazon and buy the book. It is Unclaimed Ashes, on sale now. Hey.
Does that with Amazon is that like a lifetime thing? Like when you have your book on there, it can be there just in perpetuity, or?
Yeah.
Okay, that's dope. Gotcha. All righty. Well, this has been wonderful. We appreciate you guys listening and watching us each and every week. Please support the audio, like I always say. Forgive us for not providing you an episode with last week. For last week, we will do our best to make sure that we stay consistent. And we'll focus on just today, the day we got to record, and not everything else. So we'll try to not let our, it's hard trying to get 4 people together, guys. We got a lot going on, but we'll make sure we make it happen. So God bless you. We love you. Until next time, we are the worst ones. We out.
Top of the world.